You are listening to a Restoration Obscura Dispatch, short explorations from the Field Guide archives. Each mini-episode opens a single file from the archive, fragments of history gathered from the fieldwork of Restoration Obscura. Here's the creator of Restoration Obscura, John Bulmer.
You're listening to a Restoration Obscura Dispatch mini-episode. This is a new series of short explorations from the Field Guide archives focused on a single topic gathered from the fieldwork of Restoration Obscura. They're compact stories, each produced with the same archival care and attention to detail as the long-form Field Guide podcasts. Thanks for listening. This dispatch will explore the Albany Underground and the hidden infrastructure and tunnels under New York's capital city. Beneath the noise of New York's capital city, beneath the constant flow of traffic and government routine, runs another city. It's a network of stone corridors, sealed vaults, and forgotten service shafts, a shadow infrastructure that few ever see but that quietly sustains the city above. A person can walk the same streets every day and never see how the landscape fits together. Albany's story is one of connection and disconnection, a city reshaped by ambition and divided by design. Its landscape is complicated, cut in two by the Empire State Plaza and severed from its own riverfront by Interstate 787. These products of urban renewal left behind islands of neighborhoods, each one cut off from the other by the infrastructure of progress, each holding a fragment of what the city once was. Albany keeps its history close but scattered. It hides in plain sight, in the underpasses, the retaining walls, and the alleyways, because the city was never simply built. It was layered, rebuilt, forgotten, and built again. Albany, like any city, is an archive of its own history, a history book written into the built environment. For as long as there's been a city on the hill by the Hudson River, there have been stories about what runs beneath it. In the earliest days, when Albany was still Beverwyck, merchants carved out cellars below their narrow Dutch houses. The streets above were crowded and filthy. Beneath them, stone passages offered storage, safety, and shortcuts between commerce and the river. Barrels of goods were rolled through cool basements, avoiding the mud and chaos of the world above. Some of those cellars were joined together by hand-cut stone corridors, and though many have collapsed or been filled, their outlines still appear in modern foundations. By the 19th century, the Undercity had changed purpose. As the river trade expanded and the prohibition of slavery tightened, those same basements became something more than storage. Beneath shops and row houses where barrels of salt pork and lamp oil once stood, new chambers were quietly repurposed. Walls were thickened with brick, and shelves concealed panels that opened into crawl spaces barely wide enough for a person to breathe through. In some, a candle stub still marked where light had once been rationed carefully, flickering against hand-hewn beams blackened by smoke and time. Albany's proximity to the Hudson and its rail lines made it a crucial waypoint on the Underground Railroad, a city both open and hidden where freedom moved in the shadows. The Stephen and Harriet Myers residence in Arbor Hill still stands as a monument to that clandestine network. Its parlor once filled with coded letters, abolitionist newspapers, and the urgency of those plotting safe passage north. Across the city, hidden rooms, false walls, and narrow corridors offered sanctuary to people fleeing bondage. Some were no larger than a coal bin, others connected adjoining basements, forming secret routes between homes whose owners risked imprisonment to shelter strangers. Each space was an act of defiance built directly into the architecture of ordinary life. For many, the urban underworld meant survival, a buried geography of resistance that ran just beneath the city's feet. When Prohibition took hold in the 1920s, Albany's underworld became literal again. What had once been routes of escape now became routes of profit. The outlaw liquor trade turned basements and tunnels into rat lines of contraband. Behind barbershops, cafes, and tailor storefronts, hidden doors opened into low-ceilinged rooms, alive with the sounds of a secret part of society only alive at night and underground. The clink of glassware, the shuffle of cards, and the faint throb of a phonograph leaked through the floorboards, while lookouts kept watch near the windows, scanning for any sign of the law. Tobacco smoke hung in the air, thick as fog. The scent of gin and wood polish mixed with the damp stone of the foundations themselves. These were places built to vanish, rooms where conversation dropped the moment a door creaked, where laughter masked coded exchanges, and where the night carried on long after the law had gone home. Trapdoors led down to cellars linked by rough arches and coal chutes, spaces cobbled together from the bones of older buildings. Whiskey barrels rolled along the same subterranean corridors that had once carried cargo from the river docks. The rum runners knew every inch of the maze, which doors led to the bakery's basement, which wall opened into the back of a billiard hall, which passage came out clean on the next block. During the course of my fieldwork, I've heard numerous retellings of the same stories: a barkeeper disappearing through a false wall, a trap door that opened into a neighboring cellar, a tunnel that ran beneath the street and came out near the river, stories of escape passageways, trapdoors, and false walls. Whether every passage existed as described is almost beside the point. The city's architecture could have allowed it, and that possibility is enough to keep the stories alive. And sometimes the foundations reveal clues. Beneath the south end and along Broadway, older basements and cellars overlap like strata, each generation building over what remained. Over time, those layers formed a kind of subterranean palimpsest, not a city beneath the city, but a record of adaptation. Oral accounts from longtime residents describe cellar arches that once connected neighboring properties, later sealed or repurposed as the city's needs changed. During the Prohibition years, some of those forgotten spaces were said to find new uses, quiet ones, kept out of the ledgers and away from official notice. Silence was often a form of preservation. Its underground entered a new chapter in the mid-20th century. As the Cold War deepened, the fear of nuclear attack gave rise to a second wave of construction beneath the city. Beneath the New York State Executive Mansion, engineers built a secure bunker connected through a reinforced tunnel designed to protect the governor in the event of atomic war. During Nelson Rockefeller's tenure, this shelter was fitted with communication lines and emergency supplies, more waypoints on Albany's hidden map of shadow infrastructure. During the course of my fieldwork for the Restoration Obscura articles and podcasts, readers have shared stories they've heard throughout the years. Some speak of an abandoned off-ramp entrance hidden in the side of a hill in Albany's Lincoln Park, its entrance sealed decades ago, though small vent holes drilled into the hillside hint at where it once opened. Others describe a tunnel said to run from the state capitol to a distant farm miles outside the city's perimeter, built as a means of escape in the event of a nuclear attack. One of the most persistent stories tells of a passage beneath 787 linking the Watervliet Arsenal to the Capitol itself, a feat of engineering that defies all practicality but remains undeniably intriguing. Improbable as such infrastructure may be, these stories offer something valuable. A glimpse into how people imagine the hidden city beneath their own. They reflect a belief that Albany's underworld never truly disappeared, only went quiet, an urban folklore shaped by concrete, secrecy, and the spaces that still lie just out of sight. Beneath the Empire State Plaza, fallout provisions were once cached behind concrete walls. The public concourse above, bright, white, and echoing, is only the visible layer of a much deeper design philosophy, one to keep government functioning even when the surface world failed. One of Albany's most utilitarian tunnels is known simply as the subway. It connects the Capitol building to the Alfred E. Smith building beneath West Capitol Park. Despite its name, no train ever ran through it. Built for officials and staff to move between offices during winter storms or emergencies, it represents the practical side of the city's underground. Yet even this mundane link feeds the city's fascination with what lies below. When Rockefeller's grand vision for the Empire State Plaza rose in the 1960s, it did more than transform the Capitol's skyline. It erased a city beneath it and severed the landscape above it. Entire neighborhoods were condemned and leveled in the name of progress, their homes and streets buried under concrete and marble. What emerged was monumental and alien, a symbol of power built on the cleared ground of working-class life. Beneath the towers sprawls a concourse often described as an underground city. Fluorescent corridors stretch for blocks, linking offices, cafeterias, and loading bays in a climate-controlled labyrinth designed in truth to allow world leaders and dignitaries to visit Albany without ever setting foot in the outside world. It's efficient, self-contained, and nearly invisible to those who pass above it. Thousands move through its tunnels each day without ever seeing daylight. If the plaza above was built to project strength and permanence, the concourse below became its shadow, a buried network sustaining the machinery of government constructed over the ruins of old Albany. Move north toward Colony and you find another layer, the Central Avenue pedestrian tunnels, constructed to allow safe passage beneath one of the region's busiest corridors. These concrete tubes were later repurposed for utilities. The entrances are sealed now, their stairwells hidden by overgrowth or pavement, but the tunnels remain, a ghost infrastructure maintained by inertia. The university at Albany's uptown campus continues the tradition. Its service tunnels, built in the 1960s, link dorms and lecture halls through narrow concrete halls filled with the thrum of pipes and cable trays. Students tell legends of secret doors, surveillance labs, and rooms where experiments were once conducted. In reality, they carry steam, chilled water, and data lines. But stories grow in the dark, fueled by imagination. And then there are the places no one can quite prove. Passageways said to run beneath the Palace Theater, an entrance once photographed off Central Avenue, later sealed in brick, basements in Arbor Hill where false walls still stand, still concealing secrecy. In the South End, there are stories of subcellars where the air stays unnaturally cold, and of staircases that end against stone. No records confirm these spaces, but their stories persist, because they fit city's character. A city where history is rarely erased, only walled off and built over. These are Albany's ghost routes, both real and imagined. No complete blueprint survives of the city's subterranean web. Basement masons, maintenance crews, and caretakers all carry fragments of a larger whole that no agency ever officially drew. Even today, urban explorers and contractors still find traces. A bricked archway uncovered during renovation, a stairwell that descends into darkness and ends abruptly, hatches paved over in the older streets of the downtown core. There is something deeply human about tunnels. They answer a need older than cities themselves. The instinct to burrow beneath the world we know is not only about escape, but preservation. We dig to hide, to protect, to connect, to endure. Every generation builds its own kind of underground, smugglers' routes, fallout shelters, fiber conduits, each reflecting what that generation feared most and what it valued enough to protect. In Albany, that story unfolds layer by layer: commerce, abolition, liquor, bureaucracy, resilience. Together, they form a buried map hidden beneath the visible one. When we talk about the city's tunnels, we are really talking about its past, sealed off and built over. Spaces once alive with movement and purpose, now entombed beneath the modern city. It's fascinating to think about these places, locked in silence and darkness, still tracing the outline of a vanished world below our feet. Long after the streets are repaved and the skyline remade, those hollowed spaces endure, patient, silent, unbothered by the noise above. They hold the outlines of lives once lived and decisions once urgent. They remind us that history isn't confined to museums or monuments. Sometimes it waits underfoot. Every city needs a place to hold what it can't easily explain. The hidden chambers where its history rests between memory and myth. When you walk downtown, look for the small signs. The curve of old masonry, a vent that leads nowhere, a hatch paved into asphalt, bricked windows and doors. Those are thresholds between eras. In the Restoration Obscura archives, you'll find podcasts and articles that explore this very idea, how to read the city itself as a historical record. Every brick, passage, and foundation line becomes part of an ongoing archive, a way of understanding how history is embedded into the built environment. For more in-depth content on what lies beneath the cities of the capital region, visit restorationobscura.com, where the stories continue layer by layer. I'm John Bulmer. Thanks for listening to this first dispatch. More full-length episodes of the Field Guide are on the way to all major streaming platforms. Until then, take care and explore responsibly. I'm excited to share that my new book, Restoration Obscura's Field Guide to the Night, is now available. This project grew out of the same work you hear on this podcast. It's an immersive history of how night has shaped human experience, from the first sky watchers and their constellations, to the wartime blackouts that changed daily life, to the hidden surveillance networks of the Cold War. It's part cultural history, part personal journey, and it invites us to step beyond today's artificial glow and rediscover what still lives in the shadows. Field Guide to the Night is available worldwide in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.
To support reader-funded storytelling, subscribe on Substack. You can also follow the Restoration Obscura Field Guide podcast wherever you listen for more Dispatch mini-episodes and full-length episodes from the world of Restoration Obscura. Copyright 2025, John Bulmer Media and Restoration Obscura, all rights reserved.